Let me ask you something. How many of you find yourself that you have more month than you have money at the end of the month? How many of you are struggling to figure out how you're going to plan for retirement or how you're going to plan for your kids' education? Those sort of things. Well, let me share with you. My name is Rob Slazak, and I want to offer you an exciting opportunity. But before we get into all of that, I want to give you a little bit of information about me and share something about me. My life today looks so much different than it did many years ago. I grew up very poor. My parents, there was only a one man income. My dad was the only one working, and my mom was sick, so sick that it took quite a bit of his money a week just to pay for her medical bills. But we struggled, okay. And in growing up in my formidable years, I had coaches and teachers and that tried to teach me about how to handle money and how to save and all that kind of stuff, but it fell on deaf ears. So, even later on in life, I made a decent income, but I always spent more than I made. I didn't even have a savings account until I was in my 50s. And then finally, when you get to that point where enough's enough, I found a mentor who taught me about how to pay off debt and how to save for the future, how to save for retirement, that sort of thing. And because of that experience, I got into the financial services business. I was marketing things such as 401ks, IRAs, mutual funds, that sort of thing. And it really turned my life around financially. But my passion and my mission in life is really just to give back, just to teach other people how to avoid the pitfalls that I had in my life. You may be financially secure. There may be just a couple of things that you need that I could offer that may help you kind of smooth out the wrinkles. But I'm here for anybody who needs any of that stuff. I created a webinar series. It's a 6-series webinar that covers everything from learning how to save for emergencies all the way through retirement savings and so forth, budgeting and that. And I decided to give this gift to you, for you and your loved ones. There's no cost to attend it. It's free, and free is a two-edged sword. Free is great, especially if people are financially struggling. They don't have money to pay for a program. But free also means that a lot of people don't really take it seriously and don't consider it value because it's free. So we offer the thing for free. And all I ask is that you learn from the lessons, go through the series, apply what you learn. And this information, I guarantee you, is going to be life-changing. And my hope and intent is that it will do just that. It'll change your life as it did mine. So as you go through the material, if you get stuck anywhere, please reach out to me. My email and phone number are on each of the segments at the end of each segment. And remember, you aren't alone on this, number one. And number two, there is no judgments because, folks, I've been through it. So I'm not one to sit here and judge anybody else. So with that, let's get started. Thanks a lot. Everything you wanted to know about personal finance, but were afraid to ask. How many of you are living one paycheck away from being homeless? Do you know how much money you will need to retire? If you don't know the answer to one or both of these questions, you're in the right place. I'm going to periodically pause for you to either write down your responses or at least ponder them for a moment. I want to welcome you to the webinar today. During this webinar, I'll be asking you questions, so please get out a pen and paper and answer honestly. These questions will give you insights into how to manage money. At the end of the webinar, I'll provide you with an email address so you can send your answers to me. After I review them, I'll invite you to have an opportunity to discuss them. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 topics: security, retirement, and education. By the way, if you don't have that pen and paper handy, you'll want to get one now. I'll be going over a lot of valuable information that you don't want to miss out on. To get the most out of this program, please turn off electronic devices and make time to go through this program when you won't be disturbed. Throughout this program, I'll be pausing for you to respond to questions and thoughts that will help you get clear about what you want and how you want to get it. This program is for your benefit. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. Do you have that pen and paper handy? If not, Pause this and start again when you have them. I want to start by asking you a couple of questions. Ask yourself, what is the one thing that drew you to coming today? What is the one thing you would like to get out of today? Please answer this question on your paper. Go ahead and pause. I want to thank you all for coming and really placing yourself and your family in a position to be able to feel safe and secure in these three topics, not only for today, but for the rest of your life. Since we'll be spending a half hour or so together, would it be okay if I told you a little bit about me? Great, thank you. My name is Rob Slazak, and I'm a financial representative with GWN Securities, Inc. I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida. I've been married to my amazing bride, Linda, for 35 years. We have 5 sons, 6 grandsons, and 1 granddaughter. For years, I worked as a substation design engineer for a local utility company, and probably like some of you, even though I made a decent living, we struggled with family finance because I really didn't understand how money worked. What I feared most was the lack of security, since no matter how much money I made, it just never seemed to be enough. For years, I stayed awake at night wondering how I was going to provide for my wife in retirement. I was very aware of the fact that women tend to outlive men. The fact is that she will most likely outlive me, and her retirement income will be reduced. Also, with 5 sons, how are we going to provide for their education beyond high school? And what if by some chance something happened to me where I couldn't support my family by losing my job or becoming disabled? All of this plagued me until I got a real financial education, giving me the tools to make money, save money, and protect my family for today and for the future. Through this education, I was able to put the pieces together, and it changed our financial life forever. So that's why I became a financial coach and have a passion for helping other families like yours avoid the mistakes we made in our life. Would you like to know what we did to change our finances forever? Great, thanks. We're going to cover part of the lessons I've learned today, but we certainly can't cover it all. So at the end of today, if I've delivered on everything I've outlined, do I have your permission to offer you a way you can learn more about protecting your family and yourself by working with me? Thank you. First, let me ask you a question. What is the one thing you worry about most that keeps you up at night? Let's start off by talking about security and the fears that I often hear. One of the things that's generally mentioned is, what if someone in my household would lose a job? To give you a little bit of context, as I stated in the beginning, in my past life, I worked for an electrical utility company. It was a very secure job, and in those days, if you did your job and didn't get into any kind of trouble, your job was safe. Does anybody remember the good old days of having a job like that? You can count on having your job, but that's not the case today. No job is safe, and the threat of losing your job is very, very real, especially when you live in a right-to-work state like Florida, where they can let you go at any time for any reason without any kind of notice. At that point, you have to ask yourself, what will I do if I lost my job tomorrow? Do I have enough money in savings that I can carry my family's expenses for the next 3 to 6 months to pay my bills, put food on the table, pay the utilities, make the mortgage or rent payment, pay for the kids' activities, and still be okay at the end of that time frame while I was looking for another job? It's bad enough to have the pressures of having to look for another job, but to have the pressure of not having enough money to live on until you're employed again can be unbearable. Do you have enough money in savings today to be able to handle 3 to 6 months of being out of work? Do you have a plan to put enough money away to make sure that you and your family will be able to afford to live with your current lifestyle if you or someone in your family becomes unemployed? Take a minute and write down what that impact would be in your life if you didn't have the income coming in and you didn't have enough money in your bank account. Okay, thank you. As if that's not enough to worry about, what about the fear of a debilitating accident? Most of us, especially when we're younger, don't even think about becoming disabled. After all, we're invincible, right? When you were a child, did you think you were invincible? We generally think disability in terms of some type of health event like strokes or heart attack that normally happens to older people. But what about accidents? Have you ever heard of someone who's working age and had some type of accident, couldn't work for a while? That can happen to anyone at any time. Falling off a ladder, a bad car accident, an injury at work, or a slip and fall downstairs or in a bathtub. They can happen anywhere to anyone at any time. Are you prepared if you or someone in your household had an accident and became disabled for a while? Who do you know who has a disability? What is their life like? Just pause the recording, close your eyes for a moment. Imagine, if that were you, how would your life be different? Since we're talking about people that have been disabled, let me share some examples that I've witnessed. I'll first share about Jack, my brother-in-law. He's lived with us for the past 15 years. Jack came down with a severe case of shingles in his head that left him with permanent nerve damage. He can't work and only makes about $800 a month in Social Security. Let me share with you about Ron. He was my neighbor when I lived in DeLand. He had a Harley motorcycle, but he hadn't ridden it for almost a year due to back surgery. It was October, and he and some friends were going to Biketoberfest in Daytona that weekend. Ron decided to take the bike to the store just to get used to riding it and make sure it was running good. On the way to the store, Ron gets T-boned in the middle of an intersection. Now Ron is confined to a motorized wheelchair. One arm is totally paralyzed. The other arm healed so bad that it took a year before he could reach his face with his hand. Then is my friend Dolores. She's a single mom with a preteen daughter when she came down with a severe case of multiple sclerosis, and she's been confined to a wheelchair. The Council for Disability Awareness says just over 1 in 4 of today's 20-year-olds will become disabled before they retire. Now, that's not to say they'll be disabled forever, but even a loss of income for a couple of weeks or months can be devastating, can't it? Over 37 million Americans are classified as disabled. That's about 12% of our total population. More than 50% of those disabled Americans are in their working years between the ages of 18 and 64. There's 8.8 million disabled wage earners. Over 5% of US workers are receiving Social Security disability benefits at the end of 2017. So can you imagine that almost 9 million people are disabled? Can you imagine if that were to happen to you? Are you in a position to be able to manage financially while there's a missing income in your household, waiting for disability to pay for your expenses? And what if disability doesn't pay for the full amount of the paycheck? Most disability payments are about 50 or 60% of a full paycheck. And if that's not bad enough, in 2017, there were over 2.5 million disabled workers in their 20s, 30s, and 40s receiving Social Security disability benefits. And here are some other interesting facts about SSDI. In order to qualify for full SSDI, you must be out of work for 24 months. You can't qualify for SSDI until the 24th month, so the earliest you can receive any money is in month 25. Do you have enough money to cover you for 2 full years? At least 51 million working adults don't have disability insurance. You got to ask yourself, do you have disability insurance? And if you're fortunate enough to have disability benefits, will you be able to keep them if you change your job? 48% of people don't have enough in savings to cover their expenses for 3 months with not earning any income. 5.5% of the people under the age of retirement can expect to be out of work for up to 6 months due to an illness, injury, or pregnancy. Oh yes, by the way, pregnancy is considered a disability. How would your life be impacted if you knew that you had enough money saved to support your family for 2 years or more? Take a moment and write down how you would feel. How would your life look like that if you knew you had more than 2 years of money to live on in your bank account? Go ahead and pause the recording. Take a couple of minutes and write down the impact that would be in your life if you didn't have 2 years of savings in your bank account. When you're ready, go ahead and start the recording. I'll be here. As horrible as it may seem, having a disability, have you ever considered what you would do if you lost your spouse through death or divorce? In today's economy, there aren't very many couples who can survive on one income, are there? Back in the good old days, it used to be a choice for one spouse to stay at home and take care of the children and other family matters. Today, it's a necessity for both partners to bring home enough money to function properly. So the loss of a spouse, either through death or divorce, is not only an emotional loss, but it is devastating financially. For example, let's talk about Sharon. Her husband was the major breadwinner. She was a stay-at-home mom who hadn't worked in 6 years since her 2 children were born. She became delinquent on her credit cards after a divorce. She could only find part-time work for $8.50 an hour. She had to move in with her parents in order to survive, and she had to depend on family and friends for her basic needs. Who do you know who's been in a situation like this? Surely everyone knows someone who's been in that kind of a situation. Take a minute and write down, how has it affected them? What is their quality of life now? Go ahead and pause the recorder. I'll be here when you get back. I'm sure that you're wondering how you'd be able to handle all your expenses if something like that were to happen to you. That's one of the things that I work on with my clients, so that they know they'll be able to live with a decent quality of life if a spouse passes away or if the family becomes separated. But enough about the doom and gloom. How about like we talk about something more uplifting? Let's talk about how exciting retirement can be. Isn't it funny how when we're looking at the function of time, when we're looking to the future, how it always seems like it's going to take forever to get to a particular milestone? Take growing up, for example. We can't wait for our 16th birthday to be able to drive. Then we can't wait till we're 21 to be totally independent and have that perfect job. Then we can't wait to get married and have a family. And then it's planning for our kids going off to college. And then it's looking forward for the kids to graduate so we don't have college expense anymore. And then it's looking forward to retirement, and on and on and on. And then we look back and say, my goodness, where have the years gone? When we're on that fast moving train of life, it seems like we have all the time in the world to start saving for retirement. But think about 20 years ago. What were you doing 20 years ago? Does it feel like 20 years have gone by? Do you realize that we moved into the 21st century about 20 years ago? Doesn't seem like a lifetime ago. It sure does to me. And as quickly as that time has gone by, just think about how fast the next 20 years are going to go. Are you saving at the correct rate to make sure that you can retire on time? Whether you're saving the right amount or not, I want to help you get a jump start on your retirement plans now. Please write down the answer to these 4 simple questions. How much do you have saved for retirement already? If you don't have the answer, that's your assignment. Before you go to bed tonight, go through your accounts and figure out how much you have saved. How many years before you want to retire? Everyone thinks that Social Security will start paying at age 65, but that isn't the case. The last birth year to collect full Social Security at age 65 was 1937 or earlier. At this point, if you were born in 1960 or later, the full retirement age to collect Social Security is 67. How much money in today's dollars do you want to have each month to retire and live on? How long can you expect it to last? I know this is a tough one. You just have to guess based on your family history. If you don't have the answer, the average age for men is 85, and for women, it's 87. Once you have the answer to these 4 basic questions, you can determine how much you'll need to save on a monthly basis. Go ahead and stop the recording and answer these 4 questions, and when you're ready, you can go ahead and start. I'll be here. Do you have retirement savings built into your monthly budget? Don't be discouraged with your answers. If you don't think you'll have enough money, then you just have to adjust the answer to the 4 questions until you figure out how the money will be there. Remember, it's just a target to shoot for. It's a whole lot better than throwing darts at a target blindfolded. And it all starts with having an effective budget. For those of you who think you don't have to have a budget, or that they don't work, or they're too constricting, is it possible that you've never had a good working budget? That's one of the things that my clients and I work on a regular basis to make sure that they have a budget that supports their life and not the other way around. Here are some statistics on retirement in the United States. The average American has only $96,000 saved for retirement. Today's 30-somethings have just $13,000 in their retirement accounts. As they move into their 40s, that figure jumps to a modest $31,000. By the time the big 50 rolls around, the average savings is just around $60,000. And at age 65, the average retirement savings is $100,000. And that's still a far cry from the 1 million baseline that most financial experts recommend. 56% of Americans have less than $10,000 saved, period. Please don't be one of these statistics. What is your plan? Go ahead and pause the recording. Think about that, and I'll be here when you get back. Are you learning something about how you handled money in the past? I can tell you that when I first sat down to write out my plan, I realized I didn't have a plan. So if you're in a position where you're not satisfied with your plan, I'm here to tell you it's not too late. But before you can even consider retirement, there's always the big looming topic that comes up. What about the kids' education? So as you build your retirement plan, you may want to consider how you're going to handle your children's education. But let's put this subject in perspective. Everybody wants the best for their kids and want to give them every opportunity to be successful in life. And if you can't provide the funding for college education, are you going to feel guilty about it? So much so that you're willing to give up your retirement savings to pay for it? Remember, if you have limited amount of money and have to make a choice between paying for your kids' education and your retirement, always choose retirement. You can borrow money or be creative for education expense, but you can't borrow money for your retirement. Now, assuming that you have money and you can pay for both retirement and education for your kids, the next question you might ask yourself is, well, how can I pay for both? What is the best way to manage my money to be able to pay for both retirement and education? Well, let me tell you, there are several options. Unfortunately, each one has advantages and disadvantages. Get out that pen and paper again. I will list them here in no particular order. There's Florida prepaid tuition plans. There's college savings plans. There's Coverdell. There's UTMA and UGMA accounts. Don't they sound like something from outer space? Well, UTMA stands for Uniform Transfer to Minors Act, and UGMA stands for Uniform Gifts to Minors Act. And there's always the GI Bill. 2 of our sons managed to get their degrees, one is master's, through the GI Bill. There are volumes of information out there on the internet. So at some point, if you want to know what's best for you, then let's talk. The one thing I would avoid if possible is student loans. When clients work with me, we figure out the best way to pay for your children's education expense using the best programs and savings specifically for your family's needs. Who could use a little bit of help in understanding these plans? Here's some statistics on student loans. Currently, there's over $1.5 trillion in student loans. Do you know how much a trillion is? If it was measured in seconds, 1 trillion seconds counting backwards in time would be 30,000 BC. Student loans are the second highest consumer debt behind mortgage debt. The average student in the class of 2016 had a little over $37,000 in student loan debt. Student loan delinquency rate is 10.7%. That's 90 plus days in delinquency. New delinquent balances, that's 30 plus days, is 32.6 billion. They say by 2023, 40% of the student loans will be in default, and they're rising and increasing every day. Remember that student loans are forever. You have to pay them back, even in bankruptcy. They are not a forgiven debt. So it's important to create a financial plan to pay for your child's education in addition to pay for your retirement. Who could use a little bit of help figuring this out? So today we've covered the topics of security, retirement, and education. Have I delivered on all my promises to you from the beginning? Thank you. Since I delivered on all of it, I want to share how we can work together so you can reach your financial goals of security, retirement, your children's education, your grandchildren's education, and much more. I've developed a program that's going to run over the course of 6 weeks. This course is for you if you need help getting your financial house in order, if you're a mom or a dad, a grandparent, a child, a student, an entrepreneur, an employee, or retiree. This class has been designed for you. It's going to be master classes in combination with a workshop. We're going to be able to put things in place that you really need so you'll have the security that you want and need to protect yourself and your family. The first master class is going to be called A Commitment to Change. Before you can have any of the things that we've talked about today or the things we'll talk about in the future, it all starts with your attitude, your mindset, your commitment to change. So we're going to tackle one of the biggest things that will keep you from having the life and security that you want, and we're going to do it quickly. If you follow through with this program to complete this masterclass, it may have a positive effect not only on this program, but it may affect the rest of your life in all areas of your life. You will likely find that your relationships are better, your home feels better, your health is better, and of course, your finances will be better. No promises. You must do the work to get the results. Because once you adjust your attitude, mindset, and make a commitment to change, you will see how easy it is to make changes in everything in life, and it can open up all kinds of possibilities. The next thing we're going to handle is having money easily accessible in case you have an emergency. If something were to happen, you know that you will have the cash available on hand that nobody can take from you. It's there to take care of any car repairs, home repairs, of any type of emergency. If you were to have to get on a plane tomorrow because a family member was sick and you had to fly someplace, you'd know you had the money. Let me give you an example about my friend Pat and her mom, Irene. Pat lives here in Florida and her mom lives up in the Northeast. Her mom is elderly and she became ill several times. Pat had to make trips up and back a number of times this past year. The last time her mom had major surgery. So Pat is in a position where she had the money. She was able to take that time off and go up there and take care of her mom. So we're going to talk about how to establish an account for these emergencies in a way that it's not going to throw your budget out of whack. And the last thing we're going to talk about is having money put aside for long-term emergencies to make sure that you got enough money so that if you lost your job or if one of your kids, parents, or grandparents was sick and you had to take 3 to 6 months off from work and go take care of them, you've got the money on hand. Now that's only masterclass number 1. Who's excited about that? I am too. In masterclass number 2, we're going to talk about budgeting. And not the budgeting your parents talked about, where they beat you over the head with. Remember how they told you how important it is and how restrictive it is? Well, we're going to be looking at it differently. We're going to be looking at it as a lifestyle. So you likely find that you have more money to work with rather than less money to work with, and how it's likely not going to impact your lifestyle you're living right now. Since this class will require a considerable amount of work to pull all the information together and make a good budget plan, we're going to stay on this class for 2 weeks. We will take time to interact with each other and to get your questions and issues addressed while we work through the process. In our third masterclass, we're going to be talking about protecting your family with insurance. You protect your home, don't you? You protect your car. Do you protect your family? You will learn about how to make sure your loved ones aren't left without any financial support if something were to happen to you or someone you love. It's super important that you and your family are protected, and to know that if something were to happen, that you and your family are safe because these 3 things have been put into place. Then what we're going to handle in the fourth masterclass is paying off any debt that you have. You will learn techniques and how to help you get rid of debt. And the solution is not just going out and work a second job, but if you want to do that, you're certainly welcome to. I'll be teaching you how to take care of debt with your current income. You're not going to have to work extra hours to be able to do it. It's all going to be done easily and flawlessly. Generally, depending on your specific situation, people can handle the debt piece in somewhere between 3 to 7 years. But again, remember, this totally depends on your particular circumstance. If you could have all your debt paid off and possibly even your house paid off in 7 years, what would that do to your life? Would it give you financial freedom? That's what we're talking about. By the time we get through the fourth masterclass, you will be given all the tools needed to help you carry out a comprehensive financial strategy for your family's future.
Because we've given you so much to think about and do over the past 5 weeks, we will be adding a 5th masterclass as a review of all the subjects we've covered to make sure you don't have any holes in your plans going forward. At the end of the 5 masterclasses, you will have a lifestyle where you're in control of your money instead of your money controlling you. Now, who's excited about that? Awesome. As I've said, the masterclasses will run over 6 weeks. You will receive a video by email. You will also receive materials to complete during and after class. You will get training about the topics of the week, and between classes, you will get practice using the money strategies. You will also be given the option to connect with me directly if you're struggling with any part of the program. These tools have the ability to make your life so much easier and can give you control of your money. So you're probably asking, is this class for me? Well, like I said, if you're a mom or dad, if you're a student or retiree, if you're an employee, an entrepreneur, a grandparent, or a soon-to-be retiree or soon-to-be parent, if you're single or thinking about getting married. In other words, yes, this class is for you. So it's important. So at this point, you're probably asking, what's this going to cost? When it comes to other programs like this being offered in the marketplace, costs can be substantial. In consideration of that, a program like this could cost you hundreds of dollars. Since we're offering this program for free, I want you to understand the value of taking this program on and following through to completion. So just to recap, this is what you'll receive. The full 4 masterclasses, a 5th wrap-up masterclass, my ebook, 10 Simple Strategies to Help Get Your Finances in Order. That's the $997 value. Sources for College Tuition and Successful Goal Setting. That's a $27 value.
Here's how to register. Use the same email you used to register for my introductory webinar and send an email to slazak1945@gmail.com. Doing this will give me permission to send you the actual course, starting with the first webinar, Commitment to Change, which you will receive within 24 hours. It will also include a video, materials, and instructions about how you get the most out of the master classes. For any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Here's my email address again, slazak1945@gmail. My phone number is 386-748-1462. Thank you all for your time today and your desire to make a difference in your life. We will see you next week. And again, for those of you that want to continue on the road to financial freedom and aren't ready to register, send me an email and I will send you my weekly financial tips. And if you are registered for the master classes, don't worry, I will send you the financial tips also. God bless and make it a great day.